should be coming up on the screen in a second. Yeah, it's about brand development and thought leadership in the fashion and textile industry. So Conor, we move on to the next one? Perfect. So I'm going to start with this. As designers, creators, we all have many layers, and the layers that I identify as having would be as a creative, an educator. I'm environmentally aware, so very, at the moment, pushing the whole sustainability side in the fashion industry. It's something that is going to be around for good. It's not going to be a novelty in the future. It's just going to be basically part of what you do. At the moment, it's a hot topic, but rightly so. So I am Aideen. I am the director of two businesses. One business was in ladies' wear, fashion design, top-end tailoring, and the second business I had was designing uniforms for an international airline. So I'm an advocate and an educator now at the moment, so I help small businesses and startups and people thinking about going into the fashion and textile industry and other crafts. I try to help them along the way with some of the experiences I've had throughout my career. Ready, Conor? So these are some of the designs that I would have had over the years. My brand would have been known for being very feminine, a lot of color. It was high-end tailoring, and I sold quite a lot actually on the Irish and UK market, but the brand did sell internationally as well. So kind of we're going to the next one. So it was, the inspiration behind it, it was vintage. I grew up in a household where both my mother and my grandmother had a great interest in fashion, and both of them actually had done design courses. So I always loved this old vintage style and tried to bring it forward with me into a little bit more of a modern twist. A lot of my fabrics were sourced in Europe, but I did use Irish fabrics throughout my career as well. So move on to the next one, Conor. So eventually, like they do say that there's no such thing as an overnight success, and I can absolutely attest to that. Long nights, hard work, putting an awful lot of effort in, hoping that somebody'd recognize what you did. So eventually, with the support, and I have to say that it was very, very important to me throughout my career, of Irish women. They would buy Irish products. People want to know a little bit more about you. They want to know a little bit more about what you do. And when they understand where you're coming from, where your ideas are coming from, they do support. So I've been very fortunate that I've had a lot of support from Irish women over the years. So we move to the next one. So these are some of the photos of some of my garments. You can see Catherine Fulvio, the chef here, Barack Obama with the Irish ambassador to the US, Anne Anderson. Then we have Sabina Higgins with Prince Philip. We have Sabina Higgins again with Meghan Markle, and we have Geraldine Byrne-Nason, who is a great ambassador. She was the Irish ambassador. She's now the ambassador to the UN in New York, and a great person for wearing Irish fashion. So all of these little things get your brand noticed. Move on to the next one. Okay, so I also dressed President McAleese for her inauguration, and she was really great. She collaborated with me on a project we did called the Knitting Bus, where we were trying to draw attention to traditional skills and kind of intergenerational process where older people were telling stories to younger kids and getting them involved in crafts. So it was really nice. And the key thing we did was we covered a double-decker bus in knitting, and it drew a lot of attention to the charity. So it was very nice. Go to the next one. Okay, so this is a great saying: creativity is intelligence having fun. And I honestly believe that as a designer, you have to have fun. You have to, let your imagination go. At the end of the day, be customer focused. Know there's somebody at the other end that has to wear your products. You want to stay in business, so you have to think about these things. So this is the uniform I designed. It was for CityJet, and they have hubs throughout Europe, Dublin-based, and they wanted something bright and colourful, modern, so it was a bit of a change from some of the other uniforms out there. One of the first ones to use like a jersey for a top, and they wanted their corporate colours incorporated in, but they wanted something to look smart for their business customer. Who's the next one? Okay, so this is what I call my journey. So I started off at the bottom here as a fashion designer. The business grew. I started to export my collection. And I am a firm believer in upskilling, going back, brushing up on your skills and learning new skills. So further education, I went back, did a master's in visual arts education, and then since then, I have done a course in sustainability and design thinking, and then digital entrepreneurship. So just constantly keep focused, be aware of what goes on around you. I've done quite a lot of collaboration with other designers, with other companies. Then the fashion market changed, which I would say was probably in around 2012, 2013, people became a lot more interested in fast fashion. And that was detrimental to designers like myself, where people were looking for more, cheaper, rather than better products to last longer. That has changed now, thankfully. So sustainability, as I was saying earlier on, it's one of the major focuses for most fashion designers nowadays. I was just talking to Maria Couchman there, we were having a chat about heirloom and heritage being the most important thing when it comes to Irish fashion, that people want to invest, they want to buy it, they want to wear it, they want to pass it on. And I know some of my customers bought garments they're still wearing 18 years later. So that to me is a success, you know, to be able to see where a mum has passed it on to her daughter or an aunt has passed it on to her niece. And I came across something like that recently where a dress that I designed, I think it was in 2007, was worn to a Debs recently. So it's nice to see these kind of things. I was saying about the design thinking process, which I'm sure you guys have done. It's really, really important to be customer focused in your design. You become open to new networks. So that's a really important thing for designers now, to collaborate, to get to know people in your network, to have, you know, advice from people like the experts you'll be talking today, but also your peers are very important. And I'm now working in mentoring and education for craft and design businesses and helping small businesses. So we'll move on to the next one, Kathy. So brand development, the importance of resilience and listening. So one very important thing, as I mentioned, is knowing your customer. Anybody who starts off in design, it's fine sitting there doing drawings, but at the end of the day, you have to sell your product to somebody. So if you sit designing for yourself, you're designing something that you'd wear, but maybe it's not something that you have to know what your customer wants, know what your customer needs, know how much your customer is going to pay. And the importance of what you do, of what you add to the product, is what will make a customer buy from you. So you need to research your market. You need to meet the customer's needs through sustainable product development. And that's really important. You want somebody to buy into your brand so that they'll come back to you in the future. And the best way to do that is by giving them a product that's really good quality, and that they enjoy wearing, and that they'll want to add something to it later on. So design process, as far as I'm concerned over my career, has always begun and ended with a focus on the customer. Once you know who your customer is, what your customer wants, once you understand the feedback you get from them, it's much easier to move on to your next collection because you have an idea of what they want. So branding and messaging is also very important. Telling people about what you do, telling people about why you do it, where you're from, how this affects your product. And people buy into your story as much as they buy into your product. They want to know about you. And how they know about you is you show them who you are by what you do, but you also tell them why you do what you do, and that's really important. So a really important thing, and I had done a workshop before with John on this, is planning and implementing business structure, because it's very important that you try to set out knowing that it's a sustainable business, that you have the right steps in place and that you can follow them so that you're ready as you go along to move to the next part of your business. And what I mean by that is by surrounding yourself with the right people, looking for the right help, talking to the DCCI, your local enterprise office with John. There's a lot of support out there if you're starting a business or running a business. Learning to walk before you can run, so that's really important. Small steps, understanding as you go along, which will help you to build a creative enterprise. Stay curious and watch what others do. Sometimes, I suppose in Ireland, we have a tendency to look at people who work around us rather than to look outside that. So watching what's going on worldwide is really important as well. And the strong thing I would say again, and it's a key, I'm not going to say a trend because it's around for good, is the need for sustainability and ethical sourcing. So people who are running successful businesses nowadays are running businesses where a product can be kept, mended, and in some cases remodeled. There's nothing wrong with that. Somebody else is going to add to something you do. I have no problem with that if somebody was to buy one of my garments and change it around. I think that's quite a great thing that they make something new out of something you've done. So we'll move on to the next one, Conor. So my career decisions, I suppose in a sense pivoted when COVID-19 hit. For many creative businesses in Ireland, we were facing a decision where you're dependent on a market that's no longer buying products. You know, there was no occasions that people could go to, and I was particularly working in occasion wear. So I made a decision there and then that the idea of the environment and sustainability was more important to me than to try and, in a sense, keep going, offering more product to a pile that was already there. So I made a decision that I wanted to know more about sustainability, to look into that area so that I could use my influence to influence others to look at it more closely. So on the I suppose if I'm looking at the screen, it's on my left-hand side. So on the left-hand side, you see some masks. I was one of the first people to have reusable masks on the market, and I did it for 3 charities, and I ended up giving the charities 17,000 euros over the year with COVID, which was brilliant because when the people were supporting, say, a known brand, they were buying into it, and the charities, 3 of them, benefit from it. So I was delighted to be able to do that. It kept me busy. So move on to the next one, Conor. So these are some of the people that I've worked with, NCAD, Design and Crafts Council, and a charity actually, which is a really nice one called Hecha por Nosotros, based in Brazil. And it's a charity that is designing a fashion design program that's accessible to people in developing countries where they wouldn't have money to go to college. So it was a free education system, and I collaborated with them on the content, which was really nice. Move to the next one. So thought leadership in the fashion and textile industry, and this is one of my favorite quotes: vision is the art of seeing the invisible, and that's Jonathan Swift. So what you have to figure out is, what is your vision and your mission? Like, what's the purpose of what you do? What do you want others to know about you? So it's a really important thing. What will your brand say about you? So your brand might be your name. Your brand could be a name. Your brand could be associated with where you're from. But what does your brand say about you? That if somebody, for example, was to pick a brand, say even my own brand, Aideen Bodkin, what does it say about me? What does it say about me as a designer? What does it say about me as a person? What messages am I putting out there for people to see? So I would like to think that my brand said it was colorful, quality, feminine, and all of these things are what I did with my brand and became synonymous with what I did. Remember to treat your resources like precious gifts, respected, valued, and not to be wasted. And the next page, finally, is my mission statement. So my mission statement was, what can I offer that aligns my values and my skills with the needs and desires of others while having the least environmental impact? So what can I do that's different, that aligns with my values, that doesn't negatively affect the environment around me? And I'm happy to say that I was one of the designers in Ireland, and there's many, including yourself, who had worked in slow fashion. So we worked making products that would be treasured and kept and handed on. And it's a really, really nice area to work in, because after a while, people understand that they're buying into a brand for the long run. They're not buying into something that they're going to only want for a couple of weeks and throw away. It isn't that end of things, and they can always build something on the products that they buy. And that's it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions.